Okay. Welcome everybody to our presentation on when Murphy strikes, a day in the life of a DevOps engineer. And first off, we obviously need to introduce ourselves. So my name is Mark van Walle. I'm a software architect at SOST, roughly 15 years of experience within IT and part of the Java community. And over here is my colleague.
Yeah, my name is Edo Hendriksen. I've been also active as a software solution architect for quite a long time. I've been working in the field of Java for the last 20 years and as an architect for the last 10 years. So it's quite some time.
Yeah, indeed. So after we introduce ourselves, we also need to introduce one other person. And this person is Daniel. And Daniel is working at a very big company, Car Leasing Inc. He's a DevOps engineer. And, well, like we all are these days, everyone does DevOps. And with his team, he works on this car leasing trading platform. And bear with us, this system has been running quite smoothly for a long time. They're making lots of money, stakeholders are pleased. So what could go wrong? Well, until one day, Murphy strikes. No, not that Murphy. And this is the story of how Daniel and his team work hard to solve the problem they face. And what could they have done to ensure that this didn't happen? And please, can you spot the red flag? So take notes or mental notes and see what they could have done. And afterwards, we'll ask you to share what you've spotted. Edo. Oh, wait. Obviously, the disclaimer. This case is pure fiction. So any resemblance with real-world characters should be coincidence. So if you are named Daniel, William, Lisa, Henry, Larry, this is probably not about you. Or then again, it might be.
Thank you. So I'll introduce the case to you. And like Mark said, we ask you to really pay attention, make notes. This is a workshop, so there's some work for you as well. And after I explained the case, or I told the case and the story, then we're going to discuss, OK, what's going wrong here and what could the team have done? I'm really curious about your input there. So let's start today at, as you see, it's 7 o'clock. And Daniel wakes up. He's got a coffee and a bite, and actually he's very happy. Because, it's Friday, almost weekend, the weather is great, he's got great things ahead of him in the weekend, so his mood couldn't be better. And another thing, he's got a teammate called William. And now William, he's a very smart guy. He's been on the project for like over 10 years. Actually, he's one of the guys who has originally built the CTP system. Now,
that has been running smooth.
He has done a very good job. It's really, they built a perfect system. They built a really smart, sophisticated system that has been, really doing its job very, very well. So, the last few years, William has gone a bit, grumpy or something. He is complaining about the quality of the system. He's complaining about processes. He's complaining that, well, functionality always gets the priority and doesn't have time to do any technical fixes. We think he's just moaning because there's no problem. The system is running smoothly. Stakeholders are happy. Lots of functionality gets added to the system. What's his problem? Probably he works too hard. So we're very happy. Daniel's very happy he's taking a holiday. Finally, then maybe he will come back rejuvenated and, well, let's see. So, next, he gets in the office. And there's a product owner called Lisa who's already there, and his fellow DevOps engineer called Henry is already there. So, and one by one, the other team members come in. And then suddenly, at 10 to 9, Lisa gets a phone call from one of the resellers that he's got a phone call from a customer that says, I don't see any data. and it turns out that more customers don't see any data. Well, that's really odd.
All right.
That's
Strange.
really odd. That's really odd. But wait, there was a production update last night. Daniel thinks that there was a production update. Well, actually, that's a production update of some fix that has been lying on the shelf for quite a long time.
Okay.
For all kind of reasons, it has not been put into production, but now finally it's gone to production. And
finally, then, yeah.
Yeah, but now there's something funny with this system, so it seems. So Lisa asks Daniel, "Can you have a look at it? See what's happening here?" No, he says, "Okay, that's fine. I'll take a look at it." Yeah, but where to start looking? Well, something in production, so it should probably be something in production log files. So he starts opening production log files on several machines, and there are quite a few of them. So it's really let's really search for the right one. But finally, after some searching, he finds the right log file. That's cool. He goes scanning. Do I see something funny? No, out of the ordinary. He scans and scans and scans, and he doesn't find anything. So, well, that doesn't help him. Well, okay, plan B. What's plan B? Well, then maybe we should open the code base. Yeah, open the code base. But, well, he isn't very happy about opening the code base because, yeah, if it's about missing data, it should be in the data module. And this data module is a brilliant piece of coding by William, the guy on holiday. It's a brilliant piece of coding, but yeah, it isn't really understandable. Something with very low-level things going on there. Yeah, what's going on there? It's a magic data module, so and nobody understands it.
Magic.
It's magic.
That's not good.
So that's really giving him a headache and doesn't really help him. So, but he says, well, let's open the code base. Maybe it's not too bad. Let's see if I can figure it out. What's happening there? No, absolutely not. It's unclear. Okay. But what he actually sees is that there's a framework used, and it heavily depends on this framework, but he hasn't heard of it. So, okay, what's then plan C? Maybe have a look at this framework. Maybe that gives some clue. So, what he does, it's already 10 past 10 already now, what he does is that he tries to find some information about the framework. Well, he sees, that's funny, it's an open source framework, it's over 10 years old. Oh, that's about the time that the CTP system was built.
Okay.
And it's only got one contributor. That's not much, it looks like a bit of a pet project.
Doesn't have to be bad.
Doesn't have to be bad, but yeah, the latest update is 6 years ago. Oops, yeah, that's not very handy. And also, there's one other Google hit, and it says, it's a security forum, which says, don't use this framework. It's got a very nasty leak. Oops. Right. Now, at the same time, it's already almost 10:25 now, and another reseller calls that their customers see data from other customers. Well, that's a data leak. That's far more serious.
Yes.
And, well, it's not the last call coming in, because other resellers also start calling with similar problems.
What to do?
That is alarm phase 1. That is really serious. So, yeah, you have to find a solution there, because, yeah, William, well, of course, Lisa tried to call him, but, yeah, he's on his mountain slope, probably, because doesn't respond. Okay. Now, what's the solution for this? Yeah, well, they can't roll back to the previous version. There is no previous version anymore. So, no way they can roll back this to the previous version. Okay.
Shut it down?
Shut it down. No, it costs millions. It's a trading platform that will cost them millions. Yeah, but then suddenly some websites, they say, oh, there's a data leak at Car Leasing Inc. So now even the board starts calling them, what are you doing, you? Okay. So the panic is now really rising to a top level. And everybody starts looking, thinking, there's chaos. And then suddenly, just after 12 o'clock, Henry says, come, I found something. And he's actually found a framework, which is common. It's updated regularly. It's got many contributors. It's well known, and it does the job. It looks like it just a job. That looks promising. So, they start to breathe again. The Scrum Master is getting them lunch, Larry, and then they start creating a solution based on this new framework. Well, that's just replacing the old data module and replacing it with a new framework. No, that's not possible, because there are so many interdependencies between this data module and the rest of the program that they just can't tear it apart. Okay. What now? Well, maybe write some bypasses, maybe copy some code from here to there, and then try to get it to work, and they work. To
massage it into. Okay.
So with all kinds of freakish things, they work all afternoon, and then they manage to fix it. So it's almost 6 o'clock, and they fixed it. It works. The data module works. Perfect.
They saved it.
They saved it. So they do a quick check on the acceptance environment. Does it work? Yes, it does work. But wait a minute, the rest of the program doesn't work anymore. Why is that? Well, because they were still busy writing some other functionality, and that was just halfway. So it's work in progress.
Okay.
Okay. And the production code base, yeah, they can't reproduce it, so they'll have to do the fix on the current environment. Current code base. Okay.
That's interesting.
Okay, let's start again. So write some more temporary codes. Try to, well, comment out some code or write some bypasses again, just to get it to work like it did before the production update. Right, so they spent the whole evening fixing this, and then at 11:15, they finally have it in an acceptable state. It works like it should work. So it's checked in acceptance, it's put in production, and it seems to go well. So they saved the day. But yeah, they end up with a very crappy code base, so they have a lot of work to do in the coming days.
They made a mess while fixing it.
Yeah,
oh,
so they have a lot of work to do in the coming days, weeks, or even months, probably. So, well, just after 11 o'clock, the exhausted team, already now, you can see it in the eyes of the guy there, they have a pizza, and together they discuss that, well, maybe we should change some things in the things we do.
All right. So, I would ask you, is this a realistic case? Anyone? Raise hands. It might be. Huh? Edo, come on.
Well, actually, all of these things I just told, in the past 20 years, I've seen it happen in many projects.
And so have I. But fortunately...
And not in one day, okay.
Fortunately.
Okay. That's just for the sake of the case, it's in one day. Not in one day, but we have seen, both have seen all of these things happen.
One day. All right, yeah, this was quite fast indeed. So now we come to the audience, you guys. What are the main problem areas of the CTP team? And I've got this flip over here. You don't need to read it, but it will help us gather our thoughts. So
yeah, and we'll first ask the room here, and then we see what's in the chat.
If there's anything coming in. Not sure if anything is coming in, but we'll see. So, anyone in the audience have a suggestion on, well, what is wrong here? Just name something.
The general problem areas.
Yeah, general problem.
I did notice that I could not get the code of the current production state. So
okay.
Are they not using version control?
Let's say I'm going to call that VCS, version control system. Very good.
Was the knowledge only with one person, with William?
Knowledge, so let's call it SPOF.
SPOF, we've got that one coming in the chat as well from Henk-Jan.
Yeah, all right, cool. So, anyone else? I saw raised hands here, right.
Started fixing without knowing where the problem was.
Okay. Well, no analysis or something. But then again, I'm not sure if they could. Anyone else? Yeah, Martijn?
The customer had to tell them they had a problem.
Yeah.
And they released the testing.
Customer called. So it's to get back on later on. Testing, well, I'm not sure. We didn't mention any testing, by the way, which is, that's maybe something. But, so anything else from the chat, perhaps?
The old framework they use, the outdated
Framework, right. So what's coming in from the chat, Edo?
Well, the code is not documented.
Docs. What's architecture? Arch. Perhaps there was something, but architecture. So more stuff.
Unreadable code.
Yeah. Well, unreadable remarks on the flip over. All right. So
we've got a lot of things
there's
coming
a lot
in.
of things that you can mention actually.
Yeah, also that well, that William was already warning them for years.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Technical debt.
Technical debt. Cool.
Yeah, we've got a lot of things coming also for the data model, the code that is intertwined, the architecture overview, the lack of regression test, investment in personnel.
Yeah, so these are a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of things in the chat, and I think a lot of people can recognize at least one of the things in their daily life. As we mentioned, we've seen all of these things, fortunately not in the same product and at the same time, fortunately, but yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So we came up with a few problem areas ourselves, as they are not complete, as I think the chat shows.
Yeah.
You can go into, I think, many discussions on what should they have done, but we identified a few things. So let's see what we came up with. So, problem areas, and yes, hands in hair is, I think, a very good illustration of what's going on here. Inadequate monitoring and alerting, and I think it was actually mentioned here, customer called. As you noticed, the customer called the company, stuff is wrong. Okay, this should never happen, at least at this high scale risk level. You should not have your customer calling yourself.
Yeah, and the logging, as I told, Daniel had to first find the proper logging on the machine and then the proper log file, and then he had to scan it, and then he didn't find anything. So the logging wasn't very good.
All right. So high technical complexity. So a module that was written by someone and no one understands it. So William might be brilliant, but if no one understands it, well, fortunately he's still at the company, but yeah, this is very hard to deal with. So it should never happen.
Yeah, the lack of knowledge management, we see that's the SPOF. If there's only one person knowing about a module, then you really are at risk.
Okay. And high technical and architectural debt. So yeah, they have this module that they try to replace. Well, William was already mentioning, hey, stuff is wrong, so they didn't listen to him, but also trying to get that module out. It was so intertwined with the rest of the system. Yeah, that's just very hard to deal with. So basically you're dealing with spaghetti, and well, spaghetti is relatively easily actually to untangle, but compared to this.
And they also had a framework that was like 10 years old and not updated in 6 years.
You should deal with that. You should really deal with that. So that's what we came up with.
And then we got the inadequate release management. Yeah, if you're not able to do a rollback and not able to reproduce the code base that went to production, then something's wrong, yeah, probably.
No. And you don't even know what's on acceptance.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, oh yeah, we were doing something there. I'm not sure what, but no. Well, we didn't mention it, testing. So you can't really say anything about it, but...
Well, when the customer has to call you something is wrong, then
and
something went wrong with testing.
And yeah, lacking or at least failing quality assurance is what we call it here. Might even have been static code analysis that would have done alerts on the magic data module.
Yeah.
And last, but definitely not least.
Yeah, the stakeholder management. That was in the beginning of the story. William said, "Well, there's never time to fix things. As always, functionality gets priority." You have to manage your stakeholders and make clear that it's important to also fix stuff instead of adding functionality.
Yeah, even though they make lots of money with the system.
They can also lose a lot of money this
Yeah,
way.
probably. If they are, this is probably in America, and the laws on with the lawsuits is probably not very nice.
No.
So, what quality measures should the CTP team take? Remember quality measures from the Quality for DevOps Teams book? Yes, we have to promote that as well, obviously, at the QX Day.
Yeah.
Well, the problem area of inadequate monitoring and alerting. Anyone in the audience, what could they have done?
Or in the chat.
In the chat is fine as well, huh? But since there's probably a delay, we start with the physical audience first. So I see deer in headlights here.
Well, in the use case, you said that Daniel had to look on different machines to find the proper logging. So maybe he should use some tool to centralize our logging.
Good suggestion, yeah, sure. Anything in the chat, perhaps, in the meantime?
Not yet.
Okay.
So, anyone knows how to fix inadequate monitoring and alerting, please answer.
Well, implement it, perhaps.
Yeah.
Nah, there is a few things which you could do, but if no one has any suggestions, it's actually when it's running in production. So yeah. So basically, when stuff starts failing. Okay, let's see what we came up with as quality measures. And again, they are not complete. You could think of many other things, but let's see what
they give an impression.
Yeah. So just use monitoring tooling. Have something that either has metrics or logs indeed, but when you have those, you need to alert on things, which is, that's actually not the, well, use the monitoring tooling and apply business process monitoring. So what is business process monitoring? You could see it as a bit of test automation, but then on your production system. And for example, you could, for every 30 minutes, log in, do a specific test trade, log out again. And that process should succeed. You can do that for critical business processes, and if that fails, there's probably something going on. And you don't have to, it's a quite bit of advanced monitoring, but for critical processes, so in my time at ING, we had something like that for, not specifically logging in, but logging in, doing some small thing, and logging out again. Because it was really critical to the bank. And yeah, you want to be alerted if that fails. Implement alerting on critical process failures. So that's if that business process monitoring fails, someone needs to be alerted. An email is not enough, unless you do email to SMS, but someone should really be waked up if it's in the middle of the night. And define metrics and thresholds, and this is really tricky, because they differ for each system. Yeah. And only the team knows, or the combined team knows what these could be. So that might be that the number of, or the percentage of errors goes above 2% or something.
Or the CPU usage.
The CPU usage is
latency. Or
latency. Yeah. So, and that might be different for each team, because, and it might be custom metrics. It might be that you say the number of trades on a certain period that needs to be at 100 per second, something like that. And if it's below 75, hey, perhaps there is something wrong. So that could be business metrics as well. All right.
Then the logging.
So,
how can we fix this logging? Well,
anyone? or a tool.
Implement a tool. Yeah.
All right. In the chat, or do you need to scroll or something?
Let's see. Dashboards. Yeah.
Dashboards. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Anyone else?
No.
How do you deal with logging? Logstash. Make it.
To
How do you
give a
make
bit of a
logging
hint, you're now talking about tooling, but we also mentioned about
The way you
that,
log,
that Daniel didn't notice anything wrong
Yeah.
in the logs.
So you need to have rules on how you program logs.
Something like that, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's see what
Let's
we came
see.
up with.
Well, first of all, what's important to centralize your logging and aggregate your logging. If your logging is scattered all over the place, then it's very hard finding the problem. Then make it ops oriented, and that's not the ops guy, but make it operation oriented. You can make logging while developing, and that is very helpful during development. But it should be
trace.
Yeah, it should be useful when operating the system.
Yep. Okay.
Well, then the log infra should be in place, including tooling.
Splunk or
Yeah.
Kibana, Elk Stack, things like that.
Yeah, make it easy for you to
use it.
use it.
Yeah.
Then it's important that logging is never an afterthought. You don't add logging afterwards. You have to write your logging during coding.
Yeah. So yeah, and that might be okay. I'm now going to do transaction X for customer Y, something like that. Yeah. And errors, obviously. Yeah. Okay.
Then your log level should be okay. And it's if there's something going horribly wrong and you do a debug or an info log, yeah, it's not much use.
Probably it's not on in production on debug.
No,
because that's for
development. But also the other way around. If there's something trivial going wrong, you shouldn't have a severe error in your log.
Yeah, indeed.
Then it's important to add contextual information to be able to find what's going on. That can be very easy, like a timestamp, a customer number, or some other kind of information. Make sure that it's GDPR compliant, of course. There shouldn't be any
bank accounts or
passwords,
social security numbers,
that's also a tricky one, always a tricky one. But and contextual information also includes like a hint where it's going wrong. If you say like a system error occurs, then it's not a very useful log message.
Stuff is broken.
Stuff is broken, yeah. And last but not least, enable tracing. You have to be able to trace, for instance, if you get a message, you have to be able to trace the message from coming in and then getting processed and getting out, that you can see, okay, what's going on here.
Call to a database, database response, things like that. Yeah.
Any additions to that? We'll move on to the next one, which is a high technical complexity.
Ah, yes. So, first off, and we promised acronyms, right? I think.
Yeah, but maybe someone.
Sorry.
Someone from the crowd
Apologies.
knows.
Okay, I gave you a bonus. Yes. Give you a bonus. So, someone in the audience or on the chat.
Yeah.
Coding standards already helps.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Coding standards.
Up front here, I saw someone carefully raising hands. Or not? Yeah, you should probably keep it simple. Stupid. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's quite obvious. I mean, you should prevent these, but how can you do that indeed?
Yeah.
Anything from the chat? I see something coming in now. Or
Decomposition?
oh, sorry? Could be. Could be.
Yeah, could be. It's part of the
we didn't think about that for this one, but
we did. We actually did. We'll see it.
Oh yeah,
we did.
Indeed. Yeah, there is something in
we got
here.
here some messages coming in, also from the chats. One was decomposition.
No. Okay. Yeah. Sure. No, apply architecture practices.
Code reviews.
No. Yeah, that helps actually. Yeah.
Comments in the code. That helps.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not debate about that one. That's a different session.
Well, actually, it's useful to do. You have to refactor code when it's required.
Okay. No. Okay. Clean code.
Clean code principles.
So, I hear a lot of things. So let's see what we came up with. And indeed, in the speaker, or say in the description of this talk, we promised a lot of acronyms, and most of them, I think all of them are on this slide.
Yeah.
So let's see. First off, keep it simple, stupid, and not calling someone stupid, but it should be as simple that a person, well, not a person who is 5, but it should be simple. If it's really complex to understand, it's even more complex to test.
Yeah.
And even more complex to maintain. So keep it simple. Don't overdo it. Have these one-liners, magic stuff going on. Don't do it.
It might be brilliant code, but if no one understands it, it's unmaintainable, so it's bad code, actually.
Yeah, indeed. No when YAGNI. So when sometimes you just ain't gonna need it. You don't add this magic stuff. So know when you ain't gonna need it.
Yeah, and what you often see is that people think, oh, well, this is very convenient. Maybe I can make some generic code here, then I can reuse it in the future. But most of the time, there is no future use for it. So it sits there, and future generations think, why was this built like this?
Well, I think that about my own code, so...
It's a different story, probably. Yeah.
So, try, don't repeat yourself, don't do everything, don't duplicate your code.
So that means that when you write a piece of code and you need it in another place, then you shouldn't write it again, but
you can make it generic.
Make it generic all the time, always.
Well, there is actually something else that you should do, which is the counterpart to dry, which is indeed wet. And this is, obviously it's a bit of a joke, but this is an actual acronym, is write everything twice. So if you have some code and you're writing something that looks similar, and you think, okay, this might be generic, I might make this generic, first write it twice. If you have to write it again at a third time, okay, that is the moment that you say, okay, now I start making this generic. Because, well, we mentioned YAGNI. Probably you're making it generic, but it's not 100% the same. So that's something to be a bit careful about. You can have holy wars about this, by the way. So, yeah, you're having duplicate code. Okay, yes, but it's sometimes less complex to have duplicate code than have everything, let's say, dry. So keep in mind that dry is not always better. Solid, which is an acronym which stands for, it's one of the, I can actually mention it, but there's 5 principles in here. They're from clean code and clean architecture to apply to your software. And if you do so in a responsible way, I have to say, again, don't overdo this, you can make your code better.
Lots better, and there are even more acronyms, but we won't mention them. But
yeah, you can go on.
There's an endless list of them. Yeah.
And increase readability. So there was some mention about documentation, but well, we prefer self-documenting code. So to quote someone, which is basically you should be able to read it like a fiction. Like, okay, it should be entertaining to read code. And or principle of least surprise, it should not surprise what the code is doing.
No, but it was also mentioned by Robert in the chat, comments in code, well, this is part of self-documenting code. Yeah. So don't overdo it, don't say this is a getter, but it should tell a story.
Or an if statement that, so if X is Y, okay, I can read that from the code. So that's actually polluting your code.
Put it in a comment only if it adds something to the code itself.
Yeah, indeed. Usually that's about intent, not about what's happening. So, implement high cohesion, low coupling. I heard something about decomposition in the chat. So things that belong together, put them together, but ensure that they don't have much dependencies on other parts of the system. So you can relatively easily replace parts, as with the data module. That was hard to get out. So if they applied these principles, then that would have been way easier.
There's, have a look at the chat. The chef's saying something that you should be pair programming. That's probably but yeah, you can prevent, maybe you can prevent technical complexity by pair programming. The other one says, okay, I don't understand it, it might be brilliant, but you can challenge each other, so that's a good one.
Yeah, so there was, I think, yeah, that one actually works for more parts of the...
Yeah,
indeed.
And there's, from Emna, there's another remark that static code analysis could help here.
Yes, definitely. I think it would have alerted very hard on what is going on here.
Yeah, definitely.
So cyclomatic complexity of this module is way too high. So, let's move on.
Okay, perfect. Then move on to the lack of knowledge management. How can we address the lack of knowledge management? Anyone?
SPOF. Right. So, I think someone already said something about it on a previous topic, but...
Knowledge sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
Knowledge sharing in the team? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Demonstrating
your product.
Yeah. Cool.
Sure.
Documenting. Yeah.
Also here, I think applies the pair programming and the cross-team review.
Yeah. Team reviews. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Backup resources. Oh yeah. So you mean that if you have someone who actually also knows about the system, who's not actively working on it, or? Yeah, no, definitely you need to deal with that indeed.
That you prevent William going on checking in his code and then running off on a holiday and then what? What is going on here? I also got some things going in from the in the chat, pair programming.
Yeah,
again.
Definitely.
Demo sessions, sprint demos, Amigo sessions.
For amigos or entire team?
Yeah, or entire team. Yeah. That's good ones as well. Okay, let's see what we've got. Well, avoid the SPOFs.
Yeah, that's sort of, let's say, the open door.
And that's the open door here. Yeah, organize regular knowledge sharing. Share your knowledge within your team. Perform reviews on all artifacts. It's not only code reviews, but also documentation reviews, deployment script reviews, test
user stories,
user story reviews, anything.
Test scenarios. Yeah, indeed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We even have our tester reviewing our unit tests.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
And not from a code perspective, but from the scenario perspective.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Oh. Then also collaborate in all activities. Don't think, okay, now we build it and we leave it to the ops guy to put it into production, because then he will be a SPOF again.
Yeah, but so I build it and you test it.
Yeah.
Well.
So collaborate in all your activities.
Yeah.
Together. Be aware of that. And also collaborate between disciplines. So it's not like, oh, this is the product owner knows about things and the developer knows about things. And now you should be in it together as a team. Everyone should be in it together as a team.
It's more like the cross-functional teams.
Indeed. Yeah, but also outside your team, you might need to talk with security or compliance. Collaborate with them instead of, let's say, toss something or so talk to them and then they talk to you. So it's.
But indeed, the cross-team reviews are also very important here. Cross-functional and cross-team reviews. Have a look at the chats, and Emna talks about example mapping.
I think that's specific, very specific on. Quality measure from the test sphere, which I'm a bit less familiar with than.
But also have a good. It's good to have T-shaped testers who are aware of what's going on in the code.
I think T-shaped professionals,
but also developers who know things about testing.
Yep.
Of course. T-shaped. Yvonne says T-shaped indeed.
Indeed. Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one.
I think you still had one left, which is. Document just enough, but just in time.
That's a good one. That's an important one because, you know, in earlier times I did a lot of projects. So like 10, 15 years ago, we had a project and we got a big project start architecture up front, and then you had to write a software architecture document based on all kinds of templates and standards, and you write for like a medium project, you write a 100-page software architecture document, and you spend like a month writing it, and nobody understands it and can read it and can find anything in it, and well, before your project is 2 months old, it's outdated and stale, and nobody's going to update it.
So this is just enough, just in time, but that also means that you clean it up. It's sometimes better to mark documentation as, okay, this contains invalid information, because you might need to review it first, but in wrong information, it might be worse than no information.
And it's important to know how to document, because you can document. Document doesn't mean write a Word document. Document means putting information at the right place at the right moment. So documenting, there was a session earlier today, said everything as code. Well, like we said, documentation as code, it's a good one. If your code is self-documenting, you don't have to write some wiki page that no one ever finds and that explains something that gets outdated. Your code is always right. So if you document your code, then your documentation is always up to date.
You can attach, let's say, markdown files which are in your version control, which, well, for a feature, a use case.
In the project where we even generate our documentation from the code.
Yeah.
Using Document.
No.
And also then the documentation part, so maybe the function has, but something wrong, the build failed. So it should be so if you put an additional parameter, it should be in the head.
It's an interesting quality measure to prevent you from not writing documentation.
Cool. And documentation that is even not always writing. You can even make a demo video. That's also kind of documentation. An instruction video. It's also documentation.
A diagram.
Can be anything.
Anything that elaborates a problem or how you solved it in a clear way. So don't overdo it with 100 pages that no one is ever going to read.
Please don't.
So, high technical and architectural debt. So, the empty wallet is, we have a lot of debt, so we can't pay anymore. That's not obviously true, but anyone how we can solve this? We came up with a few things, but there's many things that you could do.
What can we do?
May I say something about the previous topic? Because we always say about T-shape, and then we refer to developer or need to test and then testing need to develop, but I think there are also other roles in the DevOps teams.
Yeah, like operations. It could be that someone has a bit of more understanding of security, depending on your product, performance engineering, or some specialty that might be necessary for your product. Could be. So T-shaped is not specifically just the, let's say, the 4 traditional roles that we see in a DevOps team. Okay.
By the way, there was a question in the a question coming in. What's a SPOF? We didn't explain it. Single point of failure.
Yeah. For us, it's so obvious that. But yeah, indeed, single point of failure. So if someone, I also have heard it called the bus factor. So if someone comes under a bus, you don't want to have a bus factor of 1, because that person is gone. So you can't ask him anymore. So at least 2 people would be good.
Yeah. It wouldn't be very nice if William could get hit by a bus. I think in this project.
Yeah, it is a term that I've heard.
Or falls from the mountain.
Yeah. You don't want that either. Yeah, indeed.
So anyone about technical debt
in the audience? Oh, interesting. We didn't come up with that one, but cool. Yeah. Anyone else?
Okay.
If you do that from day one,
yeah, and otherwise it's probably. And then your priorities, then you need to prioritize, and that's hard. And if you have buy-in from the business, then interesting. Usually that's the problem, but we'll get to that. And we'll get to that indeed. Yeah. Anything from the chat?
Nothing coming in from the chat now. So
let's see what we came up with. So. Implement lifecycle management on every level. Well, let's first start with this framework. It is 10 years old. So, and when they started the project, that was fine. I mean, that was the latest and greatest. So that's good to start using it. But then on, you need to check for updates. And then on, if it stops being maintained, you might want to look for alternatives.
Yeah.
So, and once it was found as a security leak, but no, then you should have gotten rid of it. But we say on every level. We mentioned documentation, so that also means cleaning up.
But also maybe your if you're using Java.NET, the version, when do you upgrade your version of your programming
if you're
language?
still on Java 8, you should probably go to Java 11, or, well, nowadays perhaps even Java 17, but that's very, very new. Yeah, indeed.
Too new, I think.
Too new, perhaps, indeed.
But you should have a strategy.
Yeah. So, be critical on third-party software. And obviously, again, we mentioned lifecycle management, but if you find a module and only one person is maintaining it, depending on your organization, that might be too risky. It might be perhaps even better to start contributing to that yourself or adopting it.
Yeah. But also, if you're using an open source, you should always take care of the license.
Yeah, licensing might be an issue. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Temporary fixes. So they often say that nothing is more permanent than a temporary fix. Now, someone in the audience said that we fix problems as they arise. Well, I'd love to be in a team and a company that actually does that all the time. But well, often business pressure is stronger. But it is longer. At the end, I'm totally agree. Yeah, and we get. Yeah, at the end, indeed. Yeah,
it never gets priority.
No,
fixing things.
So, and when you try to fix this temporary solution, it's usually way harder. I mean, because it's hacky and the tests around it are probably not as stable, and yeah, you might do so. Oh, it might be architectural debt.
Well,
so
probably you build something on top of this temporary solution, and then to get this
out, you need to change that also. Yeah, indeed. So and that actually ties together, because then you notice, okay, fixing this temporary problem will take way more time. Sort of postponing it again. Actually making the problem larger. But this happens.
This happens, and sometimes I've seen it in many projects that it's almost like rises logarithmically. That if you fix it after fix it after a month, then it takes you twice the time, and if you fix it after a year, it will take you 4 or 5 times the amount of time.
Yeah, because you build upon what's wrong. So keep in mind that architectures in agile environments are evolutionary. So what we mentioned is that 10 years ago, they built a brilliant system for that time. And architecture is also agile. So your architecture should be evolutionary, should be adapted to changes. So if features come in, or big changes, or lots of reasons for your system to change, your architecture should be adapted to the changing needs.
And that means 2 things. The first thing is that when you set up an environment, set up an architecture, you should be aware that you should be able to change it. It should be flexible. And you should be aware that you don't put an architecture there for eternity, that it changes every time, and that you have to be aware of it, and your stakeholders have to be aware of it, that architectures change.
So, but we have this nice architecture document, and someone wrote it, and it's 100 pages long, and this is it for the foreseeable future. And that's the truth at many organizations, and usually it's relatively high level, but in practice, you want to adapt parts of that.
Okay.
And last but definitely not least, people that might have attended an earlier session today, I apply this quite a lot. So the Boy Scout rule, which basically states, leave the campground cleaner than you found it. And that ties a bit into what someone mentioned here about fixing problems when they arise. But if I work on something and I notice a piece of code, and the only thing I do is change the name of a variable to make it a bit more clear what it does, then I've already improved that piece of code. And if I do that, and my colleagues do that all the time, not constantly changing pieces, but daily, in their daily works, hey, notice something that could be a bit better, fix it, costs you 30 seconds, and you improve the code. And over time, that accumulates very fast. So just clean up every day, and that is...
Another trick is also if you have a lot of technical debt, just delete.
Yeah.
But that helps. If you take the old ones, like this is already found more than X time ago,
Yeah.
and nobody, no customer had any issues, so has never seen it, why keep it in your backlog?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
okay.
also indeed cleaning up your backlog, it's more than code. It's basically everything you're responsible for as a team.
Yeah, I got a request in the chat for the people from someone at home saying, please repeat the answers from the crowd. So.
Okay, yeah, so in the audience, someone mentioned that it's also cleaning up stories from your backlog that have been, let's say, moved down all the time. So if you do that, it's probably not important, so let's get rid of it or put it somewhere you don't see it. Yeah. Yeah.
And we got one more remark from Henk Jan saying we should enforce tech debt in the DoD.
Oh, that's
an interesting one.
That's interesting. Enforce. Well, yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah,
if that's possible. Yeah.
As a team, you need to be quite strong to get that.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah, we'll see. That's it for this topic. We'll move on to the next, which is
the release management.
Release management.
Anyone, how to fix inadequate release management?
Yeah, basically, it's just do it.
Just do it.
We could have been done in 5 minutes. Yeah. So, any suggestions? I think someone already mentioned it early when we mentioned the problems.
Yeah.
Git, or let's say version control system.
Version control.
Have version control.
Have version control.
Yeah.
And then probably more importantly, a flow.
Have a release process in place.
Process,
Process in place.
A strategy, okay, cool.
When can you release your special parts, which you should sign off?
Yeah, so signing off on what's actually being delivered. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anything from the chat?
No, nothing from the chat now. So, looking at the time, we'll have to move on. Well, first of all, it's always good to implement a proven branching strategy, including best practices. And the branching strategy can depend also on the team. Earlier today, I heard a very nice talk about, actually it was next door here, about trunk-based development.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not for all the teams. If you've got a very immature team, then that's probably not a good idea. So you should always adapt your strategy to what fits your team and your product. But, well, you should have one in place, a proven one. Well, apply proper tagging. If they would have tagged the code base, just simply would have tagged what went to production.
No.
They could have made a fix on the production code base.
Reproduce what you should be able to reproduce what's in production. I mean, easy enough.
Always, yeah. Then, of course, the rollback strategy. They didn't have a rollback strategy. That's also a very easy one.
Yeah.
Know how to roll back when you go to production, and that also includes proper artifact management.
Yeah.
So
this is the package that went into production.
And you can just simply put it back.
Oh, the old one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's already.
What also helps is not to, if you do a release to the live, not to release to everybody at the same time. So also have
something like canary and
release. So first the ones in your own city, and then
Yeah.
Could be in a strategy.
The strategy was told in the public here was like have a strategy that you don't implement at once, but just like a canary release, implement
Blue-green deployments or things like that.
Deployments or
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. We've got 2 new messages coming in. And encourage frequent delivery. Yeah, if you got like they had something lying on the shelf for a lot of time, then you know that it grows stale and it might give problems. And to build a CI/CD pipeline with continuous feedback, I think that would be their dream, probably.
Yeah. In this case, yes. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So, lacking or failing quality assurance. Well, again, we didn't talk about it, but we are on a quality experience day, so it's probably something about quality assurance. Well, sorry, apology.
Anyone?
Anyone? So that was a
that
trick.
was a giveaway.
There's always one bonus, but you can't say it now.
Yeah.
There's also a pitfall.
Yeah.
You focus too much on writing automated tests.
No.
You get the green balls effect.
Yeah. So in the audience, someone is saying that. So I already put it on the screen. So because we gave it away, and someone is saying that. If it's your automated tests, if you rely too much on those, then okay, everything is green, so it's good. You did.
The risk is that people start manipulating those.
Yeah. You can actually manipulate tests like assert true is true. Yeah, you can do that. I've seen that as well, which is, but you can prevent that with reviews, obviously. No. So anything else? Higher society,
Higher society.
Okay, definitely.
That will fix everything.
Anything from the chat?
Add tests. Alex says
tests. Obviously,
automated tests.
Yeah, automated tests is one indeed, but we've got a bit more.
Few more? No, not in the chat. So
okay. So regular security tests and pen tests. Okay, we had a security hole basically waiting to happen, breach waiting to happen. Well, a company at this scale should probably think about security a bit more than what they did. Automated static code analysis. Well, we already mentioned that a few times, so let's not talk about that too much more. Performing post-deployment smoke testing. So you do a deployment to production. Let's toss it on the production server and run home. Well, that's obviously you want to do a bit of a sanity check that what you did, what went to production, is not broken. And I'm not sure if this is the case in this, but it's something that you could have checked a bit.
Erik also says code analysis.
Code analysis indeed. I think code analysis or a few things, best practices come actually on multiple or quality measures come on more of the topics. So. Okay.
All right, perfect.
Your favorite subject?
My favorite subject. The last but not least, we've got ineffective stakeholder management. And how can you fix ineffective stakeholder management? Anyone here or at home?
Involve stakeholders at sessions.
So, yeah.
You hold when you are providing update of the system.
Involve stakeholders in all sessions,
in all sessions
basically. All sessions you have. Okay. Anything more?
Calculate the price of doing the feature or not doing the feature.
Calculate the price of doing a feature, not doing a feature.
Actually, indeed, make the trade-off between if we do it, then this will cost us this, and it will benefit us this, and versus.
Doing some improvements.
Like that. Actually, calculate business value of stories in, let's say in dollars or what.
The Scrum activities, sprint demos. Also a nice one from Alex, who says, PO who knows the word no. Sometimes you need him very badly. Good one,
Or accepts the word no, I think would be...
good one. And have acceptance criteria of stakeholders as part of DoD.
No, DoD is something that you...
Also, one is maybe that not always build or just do what the business tells you, do some fact checking.
Do some fact checking
on what the business wants, if this is actually what's useful.
You have a very big change, and then if you look in production, it may be 2 cases.
Indeed. So ask what they really want, and you might be able to solve it in a very simple way. Okay, cool.
Okay, let's...
Another one, don't have the stakeholders come with the solution.
Oh, definitely.
Don't let stakeholders come with the solution.
That's what the team is for.
Okay, let's move to our points here now. First of all, know that stakeholders are everywhere. Be aware who are your stakeholders, but developers are also stakeholders, and product owners are stakeholders, and testers are stakeholders, and basically anyone involved in the project is a stakeholder.
A client, but also the CEO of the company, sales, marketing.
Can be anybody. Then also, it's important to create the awareness that the product quality includes technical quality. You know, a lot of product owners. The last two projects I had a lot of product owners who were former sales guys, and they're always good at selling things to customers and very good at talking also. Yeah, and it was sometimes very hard to explain to them that the technical quality is also very important for making a good product.
They were making a lot of money.
It will cost you money.
Yeah.
If the technical quality is not right. And the problem is that most engineers are not the best talkers and convincers. No. That's also a bit of a problem. So what's important here is that you create a safe culture for a critical approach. Because that there's not some sales guys who are saying, well, it's rubbish, you should just build it.
Yeah,
and
but we already sold it to the client.
We already sold it to our client. That's also something I hear quite often in projects. Yeah. We already sold it, so do it. And then, if you do that, it's also important to create business cases together. So actually, business cases, well, engineers are not good at writing business cases. It's not their job. So they should get the sales guy, the PO guy, the former sales guy, the PO guy or girl, get them in and, okay, let's sit together and make this business case, why it's important to do this technical fix.
And the other way around, that might mean that a fix would actually mean, okay, hey, there's a problem here. It takes us a few hours each month because there's a problem here. Yeah. But if you have to spend a week to fix it, it takes some time before that pays itself back. So you have to do it both ways to actually decide, okay, we're not going to do this because it's way too expensive.
So there's a nice remark from Henk Jan. It's not only the DoD, but especially the DOR.
Yeah,
it's important to have a good DOR, definition of ready, when is the product ready to build. Okay.
Yeah. Do we even want this feature because it's unclear, it's unbuildable, and it will not bring us any money? Yeah.
So, I think it's time to wrap it up. We're already 70 minutes. So
okay, Okay, let's... so, is the CTP team ready for the future now?
What do you think?
Are they going to do all those things we talked about?
Oh, let's see.
What if they pick up these things that we heard now? Are they ready for the future?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, perhaps there's another problem that they didn't solve and we didn't identify. Yeah.
I think, but they're far better off, probably.
They're far better off, probably.
So it's always work in progress, but they're far better off.
So let's move on to a few things. So the key takeaways. And so quality is as strong as the weakest link. And okay, this is not 100% true. It's not that if there's something lacking that the entire system is broken. But that could be very dangerous. So if you have no attention on this vulnerability, that is the weakest link in this case. So that could be very problematic. And therefore, a holistic approach to quality is needed. You have to focus on each and every part of quality. Yeah. And quality concerns everyone. And that might be from the developer or the tester or the operations engineer to the one with the money. So the one who has the bag of money, I'm going to spend this amount of money on this product. He should be, or she should be, concerned with quality as much as the team.
Yeah, so we as software architects, we always emphasize the benefit of clean code and clean architecture. Actually, the Java community architecture board have been running a whole kind of series of also of meetups and sessions about this topic, clean code and clean architecture. We really think it's really important. But as we also see, you need to have clean communication and clean lifecycle management and clean monitoring and clean stakeholder management and basically clean everything. So, first thing you're going to do tomorrow is start cleaning up everything.
But
now everything,
where are you going to start?
Where to start? Well, everything might all be a bit much, but as with many things, think big, act small. Try to identify the low-hanging fruit and the most critical things and start fixing those.
Yep. And apply the Boy Scout rule, perhaps.
And apply your Boy Scout rule, of course.
So, thank you for joining our workshop. And we, well, if you want to reach out to us to talk about this, well, the information is on screen.
Please do.
Please do so to talk about well, quality in software projects and architecture. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And thank you for attending.
And attending QX Day.
And attending QX Day, because this is the last session of the evening.
Thanks.
Then I have 2 more household announcements. One, you can rate this session, also for the viewers online. And second, there's in the perserij, for the ones that are here locally, there's a session to end the QX Day, and after that there will be room for a drink.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.